Good evening. I'm Haylee Ficuciello, and this is Englebrook Independent News Federal Crime Report. Tonight, we take you across America's Southwest, from tribal lands in Montana to federal drug corridors in Nebraska to violent gang conspiracy in Texas and beyond. These are not isolated incidents. They are part of a broader federal enforcement landscape where narcotics, violent crimes, exploitation, and organized criminal enterprises continue to challenge law enforcement at every level. We begin in Montana with a tragic case that ended in death, and now a guilty plea. A Box Elder man has admitted responsibility in a fatal stabbing that occurred on Roxbury Boys Indian Reserve. 24-year-old Trent Justin Taylor pled guilty to involuntary manslaughter in federal court. The charges carries a maximum penalty of 8 years in prison, along with $250,000 fine and 3 years of supervised release. Chief U.S. District Judge Brian Morris will determine sentencing on July 16th. According to federal prosecutors, the incident unfolded on December 27th of 2025. An altercation broke out inside a residence, escalating rapidly. Taylor was agitated, punched a hole in the wall, and reportedly threatened to take his own life. When another man attempted to intervene, the situation turned deadly. A struggle over a kitchen knife followed. Witnesses say both men had their hands on the weapon when the fatal stab wound was inflicted on the victim's chest. Despite immediate life-saving efforts, the victim was pronounced dead at Northern Montana Hospital. An autopsy later confirmed the cause of death. In a separate and deeply disturbing case, a Sheridan, Wyoming man has pled guilty to producing and possessing child pornography. Zachary Dean Schiffner's 37 now faces a mandatory minimum of 15 years in federal prison, with potential maximum of 30 years. Court documents reveal the victim was only 14 years old. Investigators say Schiffner's used social media to contact the minor, openly expressing a sexual interest in boys between the ages of 12 and 15. He allegedly solicited explicit images and offered money to exchange of sex. A forensic examination uncovered dozens of files, including graphic material involving children as young as 12. Sentencing will be scheduled at a later date. A Lamb Deer man has now been sentenced to 18 years in federal prison for attempted sexual abuse of a minor. Dean Allen Wallowing Bull, 46, will also serve a lifetime of supervised release. Prosecutors say the assault dated back to 2009, when the victim was a minor. Awoke to find Willow Bull attempting to sexually assault him. The victim resisted, fought back, and ultimately escaped. From violent crimes to exploitation cases, federal prosecutors in Montana continue to pursue accountability across a wide spectrum of offenses. We now move to South Dakota, where a significant drug trafficking case has resulted in a lengthy prison sentencing. A Sussex Falls man will spend 15 years in federal prison for methamphetamine distribution. 46-year-old Tyler Hodson was sentenced after pleading guilty to possession with the intent to distribute controlled substances. The case stemmed from a November 2024 traffic stop, during which officers recovered 132 grams of methamphetamine hidden beneath the driver's seat. In addition to the prison time, Hodson will serve 10 years of supervised release. In Wyoming, federal authorities have finalized the forfeiture of weapons and assets tied to chilling attempt of mass shooting plot inside Yellowstone National Park. Investigators say Samson Lucas Bra Fusner held a woman at gunpoint for 2 hours while detailing plans to carry out a 4th of July mass shooting. The following morning, Fusner opened fire on the National Park Service ranger. He was killed during the shootout. A ranger was seriously injured. Authorities later seized multiple firearms, ammunition, and a vehicle used in preparation for the attack. The assets will now be sold, with proceeds directly towards restitution for the victims. In Nebraska, federal prosecutors continue to target fentanyl distribution networks. Don Walker Jr., 29, has been sentenced to nearly 20 years in prison for his role in a large-scale trafficking conspiracy. Investigators linked Walker shipped through the mail from Seattle. One interception package alone contained 5,000 pills. Authorities say the operation involved at least 7 prior shipments. A separate case involves a convicted felon who escaped federal custody during a furlough. Jackson Williams, 41, failed to report to a re-entry center after leaving federal penitentiary in Colorado. He remained a fugitive for months before he was located in Omaha, living near a park. He has now been sentenced to 40 additional months in prison. A Honduran national has also been sentenced after assaulting a federal officer during a search operation. Marvin Alman Zepta refused commands armed himself with a box cutter, and resisted arrest for over an hour. He will serve 14 months before being deported. In one of the most disturbing fraud cases in recent memory, a Colorado funeral operator has been sentenced to 18 years in federal prison. Carrie Halford admitted to defrauding grieving families while failing to properly handle 190 bodies. Instead of performing cremations or burials, bodies were left decomposing. Authorities later discovered hazardous conditions so severe the property was declared toxic site and demolished. Halford also fraudulently obtained $880,000 in COVID relief funds. A repeat sex offender has been sentenced to more than 11 years in prison after being caught with child sexual abuse material while on supervised release. Michael Perkton admitted to possessing illegal images on a hidden smartphone. In a separate case, a Kansas-based rapper has been convicted of illegally possessing a firearm. Joseph Isaac, known professionally as Sleazy World Go, faces sentencing this summer. 3 Texas men have been sentenced for attempted armed robbery on a Brinks technician. The suspects used a firearm, attempted to access the ATM, and stole the victim's weapon before fleeing. They were captured the following day. Combined, the trio serves more than 22 years in federal prison. A South Texas man has been sentenced to 18 years in prison for distributing child sexual abuse materials to a minor. Investigators found thousands of images and videos on his phone, including content involving an infant. Federal prosecutors in Houston have charged 17 alleged members of an outlaw motorcycle gang in a sweeping racketeering conspiracy. The group is accused of murder, robbery, drug trafficking, and coordinated violence across Texas. Some defenses face up to life in prison or even death penalty. A 77-year-old Brownsville man has also been sentenced to more than 10 years in prison after investigations discovered videos of child sexual abuse material dating back for decades. A New Orleans man is now facing multiple federal charges, including fentanyl distribution and illegal possession of a firearm. If convicted, he could face decades in prison. In a related case, a Louisiana man has pled guilty in using a cell phone to facilitate meth trafficking conspiracy. And in an immigration-related case, an Honduran national has been sentenced for illegally re-entering the United States after being deported. From violent crimes and narcotic trafficking to exploitation, fraud, and organized criminal enterprises, these cases reflect the ongoing scope of federal enforcement across the United States. Each prosecution represents not just accountability, but an effort to protect communities and prevent further harm. I'm Haylee Ficuciello, and this has been Englebrook Independent News Federal Crime Report. Stay informed, stay safe. Good night.